Hello everyone, welcome to this video lecture of Geotechnical Engineering. This is Sukamal Ghosh, Assistant Professor, Civil Engineering Department, Greater Kolkata College of Engineering and Management, JIS Group. In this particular video, we are going to discuss about lateral earth pressure theories. We know the vertical stresses on the soil below the ground level act mainly for two reasons. One is due to its self-weight, or we can say the effective stresses, and the other one is due to surcharge or the load of the structure present on the soil. But not only these vertical stresses, the stresses or the pressures from the horizontal directions are also act on the soil, which is known as lateral earth pressure, as we see in this particular figure. So why the study of this lateral earth pressure is so important for us? In the design of retaining walls, the sheet pile or any other kind of retaining structures, it is very important to compute or to determine the lateral earth pressure exerted by the retaining soil mass. So in the design of the retaining structures, we should consider the lateral earth pressure. Now what is this retaining structure? See, the retaining structures are the structure which can retain soil or any other materials. Okay? So before going into the detailed discussion about lateral earth pressure, let's first discuss about geostatic condition. Okay? So what is this geostatic condition? See, suppose this is the ground level. Okay? This is the ground level, and there is a soil element at a depth of z from the ground level. Okay? So here is a soil element. This soil element is at a depth of z. Okay? Now in this soil element, the vertical stresses and the horizontal stresses are acting. So suppose this is a vertical stress, sigma y is acting. Also this is a vertical stress which is sigma y is acting. Now also some horizontal stresses, that is sigma x is acting, and also the sigma z, which are also the horizontal stresses, are acting. Okay? So basically we have three stresses: sigma y, sigma z and sigma x. Now among these three stresses, this sigma y is a vertical stress, right? And this sigma z and this sigma x are horizontal stresses, or you can also write it as lateral stresses, right? Because they are acting on the soil element from the lateral side. Okay? So this sigma y can be written as sigma v, because this is the vertical stresses, and this sigma z and sigma x can be written as sigma h. Okay? So now if you want to establish a relationship between this sigma h and sigma v, then you can write it as sigma h is equals to k into sigma v. Okay? Where this sigma h is the lateral pressure or lateral earth pressure, and the sigma v is the vertical stresses. Okay? So this sigma h is the lateral pressure or the lateral earth pressure. Okay? And this sigma v is vertical stresses. Okay? Now what is this k? This k is coefficient of lateral pressure, or you can say coefficient of lateral earth pressure. Okay? So it is coefficient of lateral pressure, or you can also write it as coefficient of lateral earth pressure, because this is the geostatic condition. Now if you consider this particular figure, then you may observe that this sigma y and this sigma y have same magnitude, but their directions are opposite. Also the magnitude of this sigma x and this sigma x are same, but their directions are opposite. Also the magnitude of this sigma z and this sigma z are same, but their directions are different. So you can say that this particular soil element is in stable condition or static condition. Okay, so let me write it here. That's since the value of sigma x, sigma y and sigma z are equal and opposite, the soil element is in stable or static condition. Okay, so this soil element is in static or stable condition. Okay, and that is why we have written here geostatic condition. Okay, now in this geostatic condition, if you want to discuss about this K, which is the coefficient of lateral pressure, then you should know the value of K can be equal to 1, the value of K can be greater than 1, or the value of this K can be less than 1. Okay, and whether the value of this K means the coefficient of lateral earth pressure will equal to 1 or will greater than 1 or will less than 1, it depends upon the types of the soil. Okay, so it depends upon types of soil and also the different type of stresses or pressures, you can say. Okay, let's discuss about hydrostatic condition. Okay, so let's discuss about hydrostatic condition. Now again, suppose this is a water table. Okay, this is water table, and at a depth of z from this water table, a water element is present. Okay, so this is a water element and the depth of this water element from the water table is z. Okay, now also in this particular water element, the vertical stresses, which is sigma y, or you can write it as sigma v, the horizontal stresses or the lateral stresses is sigma x, or you can write it as sigma h. Also from this side sigma h will acting, and also from this side the sigma z, or you can also write it as sigma h will act, and from this side also sigma h will act. Okay, so in this situation, if you want to establish a relation between this sigma h and sigma v, then what can we write? See, for this particular situation, means in hydrostatic condition, we need to write it as sigma h is equals to sigma v, because from fluid mechanics we know that in hydrostatic condition the sigma x is equals to sigma y is equals to sigma z, because we know that in hydrostatic condition water exerts same magnitude of pressure from each of the sides. Okay, now since this sigma x is equals to sigma y is equals to sigma z, the sigma h is equals to sigma v. Okay, now you may also write it as sigma h is equals to 1 into sigma v. Okay, now suppose this is equation 1. Okay, and suppose this is equation 2. Okay, now if you relate this equation 1 and equation 2, then you will get that k is equals to 1. Okay, see, this is our equation 1 and our equation 2 was sigma h is equals to k into sigma v. So this is our equation 2. So if you compare this equation and this equation, then you will have k is equals to 1. So for hydrostatic condition, the value of coefficient of lateral pressure is 1, but for geostatic condition the value of k can be 1, the value of k may be greater than 1, or the value of k may be less than 1. Now let's discuss about the lateral earth pressure. So before knowing anything, we should know what are the various types of lateral earth pressure. Okay, so let me write it here. Types of lateral earth pressure. So the first one is lateral earth pressure at rest condition. Okay, the second one is active pressure. The third one is passive pressure. Okay, now this lateral earth pressure at rest condition can be denoted as P0. Okay, now the active pressure can be denoted as PA and the passive pressure can be denoted as PP. Okay, so first let's discuss about lateral earth pressure at rest condition. Okay, so lateral earth pressure at rest condition. Okay, so to understand this lateral earth pressure at rest condition, let's illustrate a figure. Okay, suppose this is the ground level. Okay, now here is a soil element. This is a soil element. There is a 2D picture. Okay, now in this soil element, the sigma V is acting from both the sides, and also sigma H means the lateral earth pressure is acting. Now this particular soil element is in stable condition. Okay, because this sigma V and this sigma V have same magnitudes but opposite direction, and also this sigma H and this sigma H have same magnitude but opposite direction. So right now this particular soil element is in stable condition, stable, or you can say it static, or you can also write it as equilibrium condition. Okay, so right now this particular soil element is at stable or static or equilibrium condition. Okay, now let me consider we want to construct a structure above the ground level here. Okay, suppose here we want to construct a structure. Now if you want to construct a structure here, then we need to cut a trench in this particular area so that we can construct the foundation. Okay, so let us consider we have cut a trench. Okay, this is the trench. Now after cutting this particular trench or pit, this particular soil element will not be in stable or static condition anymore. But why? See, initially when here some amount of soil was present, that soil was applying a horizontal stress, or you can say horizontal pressure or lateral earth pressure from this side. Okay, but since right now we have removed the soil from this area, there is no soil present to apply this particular sigma H. Okay, so that is why right now the value of this sigma H is 0. Okay, but the value of this sigma H is not 0, because in this area still there is some amount of soil which is applying this sigma H. Okay, so the value of this sigma H will not be 0. Okay, and since the value of this sigma H is 0 and this sigma H is not 0, this particular soil element will try to move this side. Okay, so this particular soil element will try to move this side and it will fall in the trench in this way. Okay, so now to stop the movement of this particular soil element, what should we do? See, we can stop the movement of this particular soil element if we construct a heavy structure in this area. If we construct a heavy structure in this particular portion, then it will again provide this sigma h to this soil element, and hence it will again regain its stable or static or equilibrium condition. Okay, so let me draw it in a better way. Let me rub it here. Okay, so suppose we have construct a heavy structure. Okay, this is the heavy structure, this particular structure, and since we have construct this particular heavy structure, it will provide this sigma h again, means it will provide the lateral pressure or lateral earth pressure to this particular soil element, and hence it will regain its stable or static condition. Okay, now since this particular structure is retaining the soil element or all the soil element which are present here, suppose here there are lots of soil element, right? This is a soil element, this is a soil element, here will another soil elements, there will be lots of soil elements. It means this particular structure is retaining all the soil elements, and that is why it is known as retaining structure. Okay, so the main function of this retaining structure is to hold the soil, or we can say, or to stop the movement of soil, so that the soil elements can keep their static or stable or equilibrium condition. Okay, now since these retaining structures are very heavy, most of the retaining structure cannot move. Okay, so let me write it here. Most of the retaining structures, I'll not say all the retaining structure, most of the retaining structures cannot move because they are very heavy. Okay, most of the retaining structures can't move because they are heavy. Okay, now since this retaining structure or this retaining wall cannot move, they are in rest condition. Okay, so let me write it here. Since retaining wall or retaining structure can't move, it means they are in rest condition. Okay, and since these retaining structures cannot move, the soil element are also in rest condition. Okay, now in this situation, the lateral earth pressure exerted between the soil elements and the wall or the structure is known as lateral earth pressure at rest condition. Okay, so let me write the definition. The lateral earth pressure at rest condition. So the definition will be, whenever we construct any heavy civil structure which cannot move laterally, in this condition the pressure exerted between the structure and soil is known as lateral earth pressure at rest condition. Okay, now since the movement in lateral direction is not possible at rest condition, it means that strain or the deformation is zero. Okay, suppose this is the soil element. Okay, now in this soil element, these are vertical stresses. This is sigma x, this is also sigma x, this is sigma z, and this is also sigma z. Okay, now since this particular soil element is at rest condition, this soil element is at rest condition. Okay. Now since it is in rest condition, the soil element cannot move laterally. Okay. Now since it can't move laterally, the lateral deformation or the horizontal deformation is 0. Okay. So the lateral deformation or lateral strain is 0. Okay. It means the strain or deformation at x direction and the deformation or strain at z direction are 0. Okay. So from the knowledge of strength of material or solid mechanics, we know that strain at x direction is equals to stress at x direction divided by the modulus of elasticity minus Poisson ratio into the stress at y direction divided by the modulus of elasticity minus Poisson's ratio into the stress at z direction divided by the modulus of elasticity. Okay. Now in this particular equation you may also write that epsilon h means the strain at horizontal direction. See, the strain at x direction is nothing but the strain at horizontal direction, right? So it will equal to the sigma x means the stress in x direction, it means the stress at horizontal direction. So it will be sigma h divided by E. In the same way it will be sigma v divided by E, it will be mu into sigma v divided by E. Okay. Now we know at rest condition the value of the strain in horizontal direction is 0. So we know at rest condition this epsilon h is 0. So let me put it here, 0 is equal to sigma h divided by E minus mu into sigma v divided by E minus mu. Sorry, it will not be sigma v, it will also be sigma h, right? It will also be sigma h because the stress at z direction will also be the stress at horizontal direction, right? Sigma h divided by E. Okay. So if you simplify it, you will have sigma h is equals to mu divided by 1 minus mu into sigma v. Okay. Now initially at geostatic condition we have discussed that sigma h is equals to k into sigma v. Okay. So if you compare this equation and this equation, then you will get that this k is equals to mu divided by 1 minus mu. Okay. So this is nothing but the coefficient of lateral earth pressure at rest condition, okay, and which is denoted by k naught. Okay. So this is the coefficient of lateral earth pressure at rest condition, okay, which is denoted by k naught, and it depends upon the Poisson's ratio. This mu is Poisson's ratio, okay, this mu is Poisson's ratio. You must have studied in strength of material, right? Okay. So in the previous slide we have seen that sigma h is equals to mu divided by 1 minus mu into sigma v. Now since this sigma h is a lateral earth pressure and it is at rest condition, so we can write it as P naught, which is the notation of lateral earth pressure at rest condition, okay, and we know this mu divided by 1 minus mu is nothing but the k naught, which is the coefficient of lateral earth pressure at rest condition. Now this is the expression for lateral earth pressure at rest condition, okay. Now we have discussed the value of this k naught, which is equals to mu minus 1 minus mu, depends upon this mu, means the Poisson's ratio, right? Now the value of K naught means the value of coefficient of lateral earth pressure at rest condition also depends upon angle of internal friction, okay, which is phi, okay. So the expression of K naught for NCC soil can be given as K naught NCC is equals to 1 minus sin phi, okay. And for OCC soil, the expression of K naught can be given as K naught of NCC into OCR to the power sin phi, okay. Now you must have know that what is this NCC. This NCC is normally consolidated clay and this OCC is over consolidated clay, and this OCR is the over consolidation ratio, right? Let me write it here. This OCR is over consolidation ratio, right? Now let's discuss about the active and passive earth pressure, okay. Active and passive okay. Now again let me consider this is the ground level, okay. This is the ground level, and same as previous case, we have a soil element below the ground level at a depth of z, okay. And in this particular soil element also, the vertical stresses, that is sigma v, is acting, and the horizontal pressures or the lateral earth pressures, that is sigma h, is acting. Now again let me consider we want to construct a structure above the ground level, okay. So this time also we need to cut a trench, right. So here suppose we have cut a trench, okay. Now since we cut the trench, again this soil element which was earlier in stable condition, after cutting this particular trench, this soil element will not be in stable condition, so again it will try to move in this particular trench. So again we need to construct a retaining structure which can hold the soil element, and so that the soil element can keep its stable or static condition, right. So let me assume we have construct a retaining structure, okay. This is the retaining structure, okay. Now this particular retaining structure is not heavy, okay, unlike the earlier case. So though this is a retaining structure, it can move, okay. Now let us assume that in this portion the cohesionless soil is present, okay. Here and here the cohesionless soil is present, okay, cohesionless soil, okay. Let me draw it in the next page so you can understand it in better way. So suppose this is the retaining structure, suppose this is the sheet pile which is a retaining structure and it is not heavy, it is lightweight, okay. This retaining structure or this sheet pile is not heavy, it is lightweight, okay. And this particular retaining structure or this particular sheet pile is retaining a cohesionless soil or backfill, okay. So suppose this is the cohesionless soil. Cohesionless soil means the granular soil, right. In this way these are the cohesionless soils, okay. Here also this is retaining the cohesionless soil, okay. So let me write it here. This is a sheet pile which is a retaining structure actually, and this is the cohesionless soil, okay. This soil is in throughout, okay. Now if you try to rotate this particular sheet pile in counterclockwise, or you can say anti-clockwise, okay. So if you want to rotate it in this direction, okay, so if you want to rotate this sheet pile counterclockwise or anti-clockwise, then you will get this kind of picture. Okay, since the rotation of this sheet pile, the soil at top of the sheet pile, means the soil of this position will try to rest on the sheet pile. Okay, or you can also say it as the soil is try to going away from the backfill. Okay, so let me write it here. Here the soil is try to rest on the sheet pile. Okay, but the sheet pile is try to going away from the backfill. Okay, now in contradictory, the soil at the bottom, will get compacted by this particular sheet pile, or you can also say that this sheet pile at the bottom will try to go towards the backfill. Okay, so let me write it here. Soil get compacted. Okay, and here the sheet pile try to move towards the backfill. Okay, so we have two conditions. See, initially this is the position of the sheet pile. Now due to a small rotation, or due to a small rotational movement of the sheet pile at top of the backfill, the sheet pile is trying to move away from the backfill. Okay, and at the bottom the sheet pile is trying to move towards the backfill. So when this sheet pile is trying to move away from the backfill, in that situation the pressure or the lateral earth pressure exerted between the soil and the sheet pile is known as active earth pressure. And when the sheet pile is trying to move towards the backfill and it is trying to compact the soil, it is known as passive earth pressure. Okay, so let me write it here. Active earth pressure. When the wall or the sheet pile is moved away from the backfill soil mass, the pressure exerted between the soil mass and the wall is known as active earth pressure. Okay, which is also denoted by PA. Okay, now again, if you want to write the definition of passive earth pressure, then how can we write it? See, when the wall moves towards the backfill soil, then the pressure exerted between soil mass and the wall is known as passive earth pressure. Which can be denoted by PP. Okay, so in this two definition, the main concepts are: in active earth pressure situation, the wall is moved away from the backfill. Okay, and in passive earth pressure condition or situation, the wall is moved towards the backfill. Okay, so let me draw the picture again for you. Suppose this is the initial condition. Okay, this is the initial condition. This is the sheet pile, and this sheet pile was retaining soil. Okay, these are the soils. Now due to a slight rotational movement this sheet pile becomes in this way. Okay, so this is the initial position, means before the rotational movement, and this is the final position after the anti-clockwise movement of the sheet pile. And since the sheet pile moves in this way, this soil will try to rest on it. Okay, because at the top the sheet pile is going away from the this backfill. This is the backfill, right? This is the backfill or the soil mass. Okay, but at the bottom this particular sheet pile is going towards the backfill. Okay, so at the top the active earth pressure is acting between the sheet pile and the soil mass, and at the bottom the passive earth pressure is acting. Okay, so this is the concept of active earth pressure and passive earth pressure. Okay, now you may remember that here we have derived that the lateral earth pressure at rest condition means the P naught is equals to the K naught into sigma V. Okay, it means the lateral earth pressure at rest condition is equals to the coefficient of lateral earth pressure at rest condition into the vertical stress. In the same way, we can also write that PA means the active earth pressure is equals to Ka, with Ka means the coefficient of active earth pressure into sigma V, and for PP means the passive earth pressure, it will be Kp into sigma V. This Kp is the coefficient of passive earth pressure. Okay, so let me write it here that Ka and Kp are the coefficient of active earth pressure and passive earth pressure respectively. Okay, now this coefficient of active earth pressure can be given by this expression, that is Ka is equals to 1 minus sin phi divided by 1 plus sin phi. Okay, which is equal to tan square 45 minus 5 by 2. Okay, you can also write it as 1 divided by tan square 45 plus 5 by 2. Okay, and also the Kp means the coefficient of passive earth pressure can be given by 1 plus sin phi divided by 1 minus sin phi. Okay, which can also be written as tan square 45 degree plus 5 by 2 is equals to tan square 45 degree minus 5 by 2. Okay, now you can derive this particular expressions. Okay, that Ka is equals to this 1 minus sin phi by 1 plus sin phi, and also you can derive this Kp is equals to 1 plus sin phi divided by 1 minus sin phi. We will derive this expression when we will discuss about the Rankine's earth pressure theory. Okay, but for the time being, just keep this information that Ka is equals to 1 minus sin phi divided by 1 plus sin phi, and Kp is just the opposite of the Ka. Okay, so you can also write that Kp is 1 by Ka. Okay, or Ka is equals to 1 by Kp. Okay, now if you compare this K naught, Ka and this Kp, so we know that K naught is equals to 1 minus sin phi, right? The Ka is 1 minus sin phi divided by 1 plus sin phi. Okay, and the Kp is 1 plus sin phi divided by 1 minus sin phi. Okay, so from this three expressions you may understand that for a given value of phi, the Kp is greater than K naught and K naught is greater than the Ka. Okay, and since the Kp is greater than K naught and K naught is greater than Ka for a given value of vertical stress sigma V, the Pp means the passive earth pressure is greater than the lateral earth pressure at rest condition, that is P naught, and P naught is greater than active earth pressure. But you must keep in mind, for these two relations, the value of the phi and the value of this sigma V have to be equal. Okay, so this is it for today. In our next lecture we will discuss about the Rankine's earth pressure theory. Till then, stay safe and stay happy. Thank you.